Hello, welcome to Solner's Minis. My name is Scott. Today, we're going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to do a little bit of a talk with my friend Skull, and we're going to discuss role-playing games. And this one's going to be just kind of an introductory for both of us. So, I, as you guys know, do paint miniatures, and I love doing that. But my big love in life actually is role-playing games. I have run games for like almost 40 years in between everything, and playing about that long as well. And my favorite game, as far as I'm concerned, is Rule Master. And Josh, Skull.
I've been playing role-playing games for next year. It'll be 30 years.
It's a long time.
Yeah, I had to think about it for a second. And running role-playing games for, I guess, 27 years. Yeah, I think that's about right. Not full time, obviously, for a couple years, so maybe full time is closer to 25 or 24 years. Yeah, I got started back in 96, 95, 96.
Okay. If we want to talk about solid run for years, I have taken I think the last 5 years off, so we're talking about 35-ish years for me for running games.
That's true. I didn't think about that. There's a couple breaks in there.
Yeah. Mainly because, well, one, pandemic, two, the group we were in kind of broke up. But what we're going to talk about is the things we kind of enjoy about the game. So I'm going to start off with a question of what brought you into role-playing games?
In high school, my friend Ralphie, for like a week straight, would come in and tell me the same story about this bar fight that his dwarf got into in a D&D game that he was playing. Ralphie is probably still is, but at the time he was a big pothead, so he always forgot that he told me this story already.
Okay.
So I think it was after like the third or fourth time that he told me the story, I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll give this a try.
Okay.
Yeah.
For me, I was 8 years old, and my cousin Larry got me involved in the game, much to the chagrin of my mom and my father. And so I started playing, and I think it was like 2 years after that I started running games at 10. So
Yeah, I think particularly in our age range, that sounds like the normal age for people to start. Yeah.
Not so much these days, it seems, but all right. So what is it that kept you into role-playing games?
I've always been a person who has lived mostly in their head and had an overly active imagination, which works very well for a professional artist. So it kind of played into several things I really enjoy. Particularly when it comes to storytelling overall. I love cooperative storytelling and art making, as it were. So, at least all the role-playing games I tend to play, that cooperativeness has always been a big factor. Being an individual in a room with a bunch of other people, kind of sharing this shared state of what's the word, of like almost like a dream state.
Okay.
Living through the same experience, whether or not it's real or not, as far as our brains can tell, it's real to us. From what I understand, it's all processed the same way. And so kind of lost where I was going with that, but Basically like that, and you know, hang out with your friends while doing this thing that is more exciting than your actual life, while also taking, you know, telling a story. It just always seemed more fun and interesting than, I guess, staying at home and watching sports. So, um, yeah.
All right. I really like the world building aspect of it. It's the reason why I really like DMing a lot. I like creating stories and drawing people into them and evolving it as you need to, because obviously players don't always do exactly what you expect them to do, which in fact, if you're a GM, I would say if you haven't already assumed your players are going to not do what you want them to do, you're going to have a lot of heartache.
Yeah,
Should always expect your players to do something other than what you have planned.
Yeah.
But I also love that kind of like on your toes, kind of moving the story along and adjusting as you need to. I really like heroic stories. I don't really like necessarily villainous stories. I know that some players like to play the villains, but I'm not really into that, and that's just my opinion on that. Some people really like running the villain campaign, and that's fine. But for me, it's a lot of what you said: the imagination, the creativity, the bonding with friends, without having to necessarily go to a sporting event or even have to, you know, do a lot of the things that people think people do when they get social. That you don't even have to drink, just because there's just so much going on. You don't even think about that sort of stuff.
And another like great thing about it as well, like and it can seem deceptive, I guess, if you're kind of looking at it a certain way, but it's cheap, even often free. So, like it, and deceptive because, like, you know, you can look at the cost of some of these books, but like not everybody at the table who plays actually has to own a book.
No, they don't.
And maybe people find this wrong, I share whatever PDFs I have with the people I run a game with because I want you to at least have access to the rules.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody frowns on that, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
I mean, also like just sharing your books in general.
Yeah, sharing a book
just-
at a table and sharing a PDF, as far as I'm concerned, the same thing.
Yeah, is perfectly legit. I mean, not everybody has to buy the book. I know that game companies will tell you everybody has to buy the book, but not everybody
Yeah.
has to buy the book. Also, you know, it is cheaper in the sense of like you don't have to spend a bunch of money going out to do things.
Yeah.
And the cost is the initial cost is the books and the dice. All the
Yeah.
other stuff is kind of like outlying
Yeah. And,
ways to add to the thing. So
yeah, and if you're a player, mostly you just have to buy one book.
Yeah.
Right?
generally, yeah.
And if you're a GM,
Then it gets a little bit more
yeah,
expensive.
yeah. You can easily drop $200.
In 2 books, it seems like these days.
Oh,
Maybe
man.
4.
Yeah, I was thinking 4 at least,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Or maybe 4. Depends on what edition you buy. So,
Yeah.
all right. So, what are some inspirations for you when you run games?
I take inspiration from everything, actually. Recent example actually is an episode of Murder, She Wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I carry a notebook around. And last night I was watching an old episode of Murder, She Wrote from, I think it's season 9. And something about the plot of that story made me go, oh, this would actually be really interesting as a kind of story for RuneQuest. You know, like just fragments of it. Actually pull it out. I did pull it out. Then click back. What was it? Oh, just like this idea of this woman who her husband builds this tower along the coastline, a stone tower, and she watches from this tower her husband's ship during a storm get crushed against the rocks of the cliff or rocks nearby, and all hands on deck go perish in the instance. And she is so distraught by watching the death of her loved one that she throws herself from the tower.
Okay.
Right. The emotional aspects of that, and some small details, I think would make an interesting spirit-based adventure for RuneQuest. The idea of a woman throwing herself from a high place where she was, for whatever reason, witnessing the death of her true love. And then her spirit returning and also being like a hair-bringer of, that's not the right word, being like a precursor or a warning to a death that's going to happen in the area.
Okay.
And that being some kind of legend locally. There was another thing I watched recently on YouTube, put out by Crash Course, the YouTube channel, that was talking about Native American history. And they touched upon, I can't remember what they're called exactly, but they're in one of the tribes in the American West. They had essentially clowns, or what we would call clowns, and they represented tribal tricksters, but their actions were to put on display almost like a morality lesson, right?
Okay.
So one of the examples was, they'd lay about in the village being gluttonous as an example, and they're wearing like costuming, so they have hats, and they painted themselves in a black and white stripe type pattern and all that, and their clothing had a similar pattern, and it's like just to teach particularly younger folks within the community that like being wasteful with food or gluttonous and whatever was not a proper way to act within society. And historically, I guess, tricksters, clowns, from what I understand, take on a similar role in a lot of different cultures. So, not just this one Native American tribe. But I thought that was inspirational for how to run tricksters in a RuneQuest game. I think about RuneQuest a lot lately, so
Okay.
that's why all examples are the same. But yeah, I pull basically from anything I read or watch or hear
Okay.
inspiration. And I imagine that's the same for most people.
Yeah. I also see like current events playing a big part in a lot of campaigns as well.
Yeah, particularly if you're running like a political based game.
Yeah.
I can see that.
Definitely for me, beginning inspirations at least were like Tolkien and Terry Brooks. Beginning, this is my formative years as a DM, which is kind of reflected a lot. If you've played my games, you can see that quite a bit in my games where that's reflected a lot.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
There's a lot of other anime is a good inspiration as well.
Yeah. A lot of people, particularly now, there's just this huge renaissance for high fantasy in anime.
Yeah.
That's inspiring people, and particularly in the RPG community, which is always fun to see.
Yeah.
It's an even flow.
I think so. Covered that part. So obviously, you've been talking about RuneQuest a lot. Would you say that's on your top tier of games?
Yes.
What other games are you?
I mean,
interested in?
I do update this list probably every decade or so. I'm one of those people who takes a long time to pick favorites.
Yeah.
Put a lot of thought into it. But so my top RPGs picks, And these are in a particular order because I couldn't tell you which one was number one.
Okay. I'm not asking you to number them. I'm just asking
Yeah.
you your favorite ones.
And I haven't run all of them or even played all of them.
Okay.
Though I have read them. So I'll probably include a couple that I haven't unfortunately been able to run or play in yet.
Okay.
But currently, yeah, RuneQuest, Call of Cthulhu. They've run the basic same system, but they're run differently. People who have seen those games probably know what I'm talking about. And then Avatar Legends is phenomenal. Magpie Games did an amazing job with that game. What else is on my shelf? Magical Kitten Save the Day is a phenomenal game that I have as of yet to run or play, but
Okay.
is
I've seen that in the
such
stores.
a well put together game. I think
I haven't read that one.
it's pretty simple. Like it's definitely a game I would recommend to people who are like, oh, I want to get my kids into playing. Like, yeah, definitely play this game.
Okay.
Because it's just such a simple mechanic system. I'm just blanking on everything else. Jeez.
It happens.
Yeah. The Dragonlance Saga system, which is a completely diceless system, is still one that I really enjoy and do want to play again. I have never played it as Dragonlance.
Okay.
When I was first introduced to it and played it, my friend was running it as a Final Fantasy Tactics style game.
Okay.
I don't remember which Final Fantasy Tactics setting it was, but
Okay.
it was a lot of fun. I know there's some other ones. I just can't think what they are right now. Oh, why am I being stupid? Rollmaster is phenomenal. I would never run it, but
I don't blame you on that one.
I love playing it. The challenge of running it is a lot of people say the charts, but I don't think that's the case.
Oh no, that's not the case at all.
It's just it's a game packed full of options, and a lot of people think you have to run all the options, and it's like no, they're optional roles. You know, like for instance, we don't use, and it was years before I knew this, we don't use their initiative system.
Nope. The initiative system is
Which,
not.
when you explained it to me, I was like, yeah, I can see why you would never use that.
Yeah.
That's just terrible. That's definitely a war gamey type of initiative system.
Yeah. So for me, since you brought up Rollmaster, I'm not gonna lie, is my most favorite system to run and play.
Yeah.
I've actually run most of my campaigns from when I was in college until the pandemic, where it was a Rollmaster game system. For those of you who've heard it as Chartmaster, yes, it has a lot of charts, but you don't have to run the game that way. There's a lot of different ways to run the game. There's a lot of options, but you don't have to use them all, as Josh has mentioned. And it's really easy to pick and choose. And I really love it because it is a level-based game, but it is heavily reliant on your skills to be able to get things done.
Yeah, it's an interesting combination of level-based, class-based, and skill-based game, right? Because you do have classes, but they're not overly restrictive.
Nope.
And it is, I'll say 70% skill-based over class-based, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could have a party full of, we'll say, thieves, but they will all, unless the players, for some reason, do it otherwise, be very different.
Yes, it can be. It's also the kind of game where, like, if you're a mage, you can learn how to pick locks. If you're a fighter, you can learn how to cast spells, but the cost of learning those things is much more expensive than the class that's actually attached to that said skill.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's Palladium Fantasy was my first game. And
Yeah.
it's similarly like it's level based, has classes, but it's more of a skill based game.
yeah,
And it was the same feeling when I first, because it was my first role playing game, and I probably still add it to that list of games, preferred game list or whatever. When I first sat down and played the most known role playing game, D&D, it was after I'd already been playing Palladium Fantasy for a while, and so the concept of NPCs being a zero level character was just alien and it made no sense to me.
yeah. That's kind of like that in Rule Master 2. There's no such thing as a 0 level
Yeah.
NPC. But yeah, segueing into
Yeah.
Palladium Fantasy, that was also a game I played and really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the Dabalist class with all the like circles and runes and everything.
Oh, the ballist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Um,
I guess there's a couple ways to pronounce that.
yeah, it depends on who's.
That's a hard one to play though.
It is, but it's a lot of fun.
It's yeah.
I also really enjoy. Not too many people know this one. Battle Lords 20,000.
I've heard of Battle Lords.
I played
no experience with it.
a campaign once in college, and it was pretty fun. It's got some unique character classes, like a intelligent quadruped feline race that is about the size of a panther,
Okay, yeah.
but they are intelligent, no opposable thumb, so their technology is totally different than everybody else's. And then I just read, and I really kind of enjoy it, and it's kind of attached to Morkborg. It's called Black Powder and Brimstone, and it's a really interesting setting.
That's
For that.
Is that the pirate one?
Morkborg is not a pirate one. Morkborg is a
I know what Morkborg is.
Black Powder and Brimstone is actually not a pirate one. It's a
'Cause I know they have a pirate one. I just can't.
it's not that one.
Okay.
It's a sci fantasy.
Oh, okay.
But
Huh.
looks like a lot of fun. I'm actually thinking about running a one shot with that with some people at the game store that I'm at. And sorry, I'm just looking at my cat doing something stupid.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, that's kind of my list of games that I played that I really enjoy. But yeah, I think for this time around, I think we'll leave it there because we're just kind of introducing kind of like what inspires us and what we enjoy and like
Yeah,
that.
I think that's good.
And then next time we can talk about actual games and things we like or dislike about the certain systems.
Yeah. I
Sounds
think
great.
Yeah.
All right, see you guys later. Thank you very much.